Alrighty guys, let's just check that this is operating correctly. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so hi, welcome. This is a bit of a new type of video. Rather than doing lore, I've also been asked to do, like, you know, what are my favorite mechs and stuff like that. And I think this is a really cool idea. I've been playing this game for forever. It's like one of the first miniature games I got into. And yeah, so I thought, you know, there's so many mechs I love, so many mechs that I know and really enjoy and like for different reasons. And I thought maybe I could walk you through them, but I'll break them up because, as always, we know I'm long-winded and tend to go on a rant. So I thought I'd talk to you, yeah, firstly breaking them up into era, but then also breaking them up into their category, because different categories of mechs serve different purposes. You know, what you want out of a light mech is very different from what you want out of a medium mech or a heavy mech or a soul mech, right? What you want out of a vehicle. And different eras are going to give you different feels for things. Like we're going to deal with 3025 and light mechs only here today. And in 3025 you don't have case, and that really impacts, as you'll see, a lot of the choices that you're going to make as you go through the game. I've also thrown some music on here today. This is YouTube approved music. I got that from the Creators Studios area of their thing. If you don't like the music or you do like the music, let me know. I want to know how you feel about the music. Without further ado, let's get to my battle mechs. Here we go. Okay, so the first one is the Spider. I love this. Is if I was in MechWarrior, this is the mech I would want to own, but not necessarily the mech I would want to pilot into combat. This is my most favorite mech of all the mechs. I fell in love with it in the Clicks game. I read about it in the lore, and I just, oh man, yeah, I love it. And I love that it's so mobile. I love that it's so fast. That's like really if I had one pilot ability, my pilot ability would be to, you know, be able to get out of the way very quickly, you know? And that's what I love. And when I play the simulators, I've had so many amazing games with my spiders on MechWarrior Online and on the MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries, like expansion mech tech. I can't remember what it is, but they put all the different mechs in it. And I just love the spider. I love it. It's easily one of my favorites. Now, there's two variants. In 3025, it's a bit risky to take the 5k variant because it has bullets, and as we'll see, they explode badly. So usually you just want to go with the stock standard 5v, which has two medium lasers. Let's take a look at that. So it's 30 tons, made by New Heart, and it has two medium lasers in the center torso. And this, again, in MechWarrior Online and stuff, this plays up with you know, like this can cause problems because, you know, you don't have it in the arms. It's harder to aim things. You know, you're more restricted. But with this mech, you're not going to stand toe to toe with something heavier than you. You're not going to. The purpose is not to withstand that because you have like hardly any armor. It's really weak on the arms, really weak on the legs, really weak on the center torso, and all of it. The whole place is super weak. Like, you've got the same amount of armor, you know, like more or less on your back as you do in the front. Like, there's not a big difference between that value, and so it makes a big difference. The way you use a spider is, you know, it's not just about going in and having, you know, a straight up fight. We're gonna attack everybody and that's it, right? A spider's job is recon. A spider's job is harassing, and it has a very specific role to play. It's really good on scout missions. It's really good on objective capture missions. It's good at bursting ECM bubbles when you get to ECMs later on in the tech. You know, like the way ECMs work is if you're inside it, that's how you sort of interrupt it in the game. And that's and so for the tabletop game, that's what the spider's job is to protect those things. Later on, you can put an ECM on your spider yourself, and then that really makes you insanely powerful because you could be anywhere on the board and they're not going to know. You know, you can be anywhere on the map. No one's going to know where you are. And then you can start to play around with some more fancy ideas. But until we get that technology, until we get to that extra space, the big problem with Spider is not necessarily the technology, but the amount of space and the weight that you have. So it's very restricted that way. It has 2 medium lasers. Now, on any other sort of light mech, that's heaps of ammo, right? That's heaps... Well, not ammo. Well, it's ammo-less, so yes, it is heaps of ammo. But it's like, that's heaps of firepower. That's doing a lot of damage. However, the problem is, you don't have the weight to... the armor weight to survive that kind of an attack, right? You can't just go frontline fighting. But as a harasser, when you do get those shots off, it makes a big difference. And that's one of the reasons why this is one of my favorite mechs, is because you have enough firepower to pack a punch, but your job isn't to pack a punch, right? It's to run around and distract people. And often people see you in a spider as an easy target because you are so light and fragile, and people know that. So the trick with the spider is to be moving those 12 running move points. So if you can see they're walking move points 8, that's so much. Even just walking, you can walk circles around your opponents with a walk of 8. That's crazy. Running move points is 12, which is huge. That's gigantic. So when you're moving 12, you're getting like a +4, I think, to hit on the tabletop game. So it's a significant difference, to that. Now, a lot of my fights have been in a spider on MechWarrior Online, and so many of them are just amazing because you're doing that hit and run. What happens is, I've gone up against, I have a beautiful one. I don't know if it's still on, if I recorded it for this or not, but I have a beautiful one where I was harassing a Warhammer on the city map on MechWarrior Online, like the factory thing, and I was hitting it, and then I was getting out of the way and disappearing, and it ended up coming down to me and this Warhammer. We're jumping around, and I was just running and hiding, and they didn't know where I'd gone on the map, and so it was like they'd have to come, and I would position myself, so once they were sort of there, I'd have my little pot shot, I'd run off. And that made a big difference. Now that was closer to a 7K build because it had the 5K build design and ferrofibrous armor and things like that. But so it is closer to a 7K. But yeah, it's amazing the mobility you get. Anyway, I've talked about that too much. The one thing that I will say about sort of the fluff here, there's a few things. So it says the SDR 5V, it was conceived as a fast-moving mech, which it is, with ample firepower. So it has heaps of firepower, but it's not it's not gonna. You don't put a spider in your army because you want to run up and take a pot shot at people. Like, you want to be moving. It is just a pot shot. You're not going to have a prolonged firefight. It says, and the ability to operate with an extended period of time without support. That's the whole point of this mech, is it goes out in the field, it doesn't need to come back. As long as it doesn't get hit, you can just keep shooting forever. And that's the beauty of it. That's why I like this. It doesn't need the ammo. And the 5K, whilst it does need the ammo, and that's dangerous. It's 200 points. If you get a crit and it hits your ammo, that's game over, man. Game over. The other thing I'd like to point out is this, right? The Spider's only real design flaw is its particular configuration of armor and sensors leave no room for installation of a pilot escape system. There's no eject on a Spider, so you have to be, you have to be able to crawl out yourself. And what this led to, and this is part of the reason why I love it so much in the fluff, is, warriors who take the Spider, they're good warriors. They get a lot of respect, especially in places like Karita and the Draconis Combine. Those sorts of areas, it's very noble, because you know that you have to be a good warrior to pilot a Spider. If you don't know what you're doing in a Spider, you will be dead, right? And that's just it's amazing. It's amazing to know that is you're making that choice, and as a role-playing thing, that's huge. So that's the Spider. The Firestarter, so FS9K is the variant I would recommend for the Firestarter. I love the aesthetic of the Firestarter. Again, I started with the Clicks game, and just the way the new Firestarters look are amazing. I'm not so keen on the old Firestarter look, which is what we'll see here, but it's still kind of cool, I guess. The miniatures don't do it justice. I think the picture looks cool, but the miniatures don't really do it the justice it deserves. Let's have a look at these stats here real quick. So this is the H variant. or the original sort of one, which is H. There is a couple of other variants. The other one that I would recommend is the FS9M, which is used by the Sky guys, Sky Rangers, which replaces 2 of the flamers with a medium laser and some armor. I like the K variant, which replaces some of the flamers with a large laser, which that gives you that extra. I mean, a light mech with a large laser, 35 tons. That's huge, right? That's huge to have a light mech with a large laser, and that's gonna whomp some damage on some people. You can see this has a little bit more armor. Now, flamers are a bit controversial in the tabletop game because the rules change depending upon who you're playing with and what's accepted. Some people use the flamers as applying heat. Some use the flamers as applying damage. Others use it just to start things. Now, one of my strongest tactics that I've used fire starters with, so like I said, I usually take the one with the large laser, though if you're taking the H model with the flamers, or any of them with the flamers, you can still do the same idea, and that is to start fires in tree sections. And what that does is that creates smoke. Now, I've had games where I've filled half the board with smoke, and by doing that, that's given my my other army a lot more I guess the cover. It's more safe. So if I had a fire starter and a spider together, like, just think of the defensive bonus that's giving to that spider, and that spider really needs that defense, right? So by adding those sorts of little elements that are not a direct up, walk up and punch things in the face approach to the game, you suddenly start getting all these smaller mechs which have really unique and powerful roles. The other thing I'd say about the fire starter is just look at the number of weapons it has. Like, that's a lot of rolling that you get to do, a lot of chances to hit, a lot of second chances if you miss, and even if you're only doing the 1 or 2 little bits of damage, or even if you're just heating it up, like, that makes a big difference. That makes a really big difference to you're slowly chipping away at bigger things. If you've got a group, I've ran with a lance of these guys before, and once all 4 of them get onto a target, like, it's sort of British Bulldog style, and they're not that slow. Like 696 is pretty good, I think. So yeah, I would use the variant with the large laser. You can see there's the FS9M, which was the Mirage, which replaces things with some lasers and some and some armor. And like I said, I would use the K, which gives it the big laser, because who doesn't want a big laser? Am I right? All right. So the Jenna, I really like Jenna. So far we've had the humanoid mechs. The Jenna is the first chicken walker mech that I would say. I like the Jenna. The 7D and the 7K both are very good. Let's take a look at the Jenna. Again, my last role-playing character had a Jenna, and it was a lot of fun. I love the light mechs. It's so good. So the Jenna actually has pretty meh armor. It's not that strong. It has a lot of guns, right? We're seeing a lot of these medium lasers, but it also has the SRM4, and that can really pack a punch. And for me, that makes a big difference, right? So this is probably the variant I would take, is this one with the 4 medium lasers and SRM4. It's got a 7-11-5 movement, which looks really awkward, but that is, again, it's super fast. It's super fast, just like the spider. This one, however, is sort of more designed for getting up in your face and kicking some butt. And that does make a bit of a difference. Is it does have an excess of firepower. It's designed to really cause problems. So they're saying it's a modern design, right? It's getting up closer and more impersonal, more personal, in people's faces, and it's sort of. It does have that. It does feel a bit more like the 3050 Mechs, which is one of the reasons why I like it, I think. But the way it feels like that is because it has lots of these weapons, but it doesn't have armor. And that's going to be a big a big deal to you, especially if you're playing in a 30-25 era game. So although the Janna was designed as a close-range fighter, it lacks arms for punching and other physical attacks. The Janna's designers felt that because of the mech's low tonnage, it would be able to be more efficient. It would not be able to make efficient attacks. Janna has done well without them, except in grab and run raids made on enemy supply depots. Yeah, so because it doesn't have hands, it can't grab, right? But this is the point: is that this is something you have to think about, and when you're doing those physical combat things, when you're getting close, when you're getting up and close to mechs, that is going to happen a lot. Is you're going to have those physical punches, and you have to sort of work out: is it more beneficial for me to punch or charge, or is it more beneficial for me to shoot, right? And one of the things I like about the Janna is you're not going to punch, you're not going to kick, because your weight is too small. And, they're sort of honest about that your job is just to go in and shoot stuff. Unlike the Spider, this one has an eject system, so if you get hit, it's okay. Alright, so my final light mech of the 30-25 era is the Panther, and I would recommend the 9R. The Panther is a sniper, and if you're going to use the Panther, you have to sort of use it as a sniper. It has a PPC, which is huge for a light mech. It's sort of when you're making choices like this for light mechs, usually when a light mech sniper, your choice is Panther or Hunchback. That's really it. Oh, so we've got the 6R here, so it's a bit lighter again. A bit less armor. 464 movement, so it's also slower, and I think that's really the downside. And that's not slow though. That's not to say that it's a slow mech. It's half of a Spider, but a Spider and a Janna, they're crazy, insane fast, right? So it's an appropriate movement, and it sort of feels like it's almost a medium mech, and that's one of the reasons why I like it, is because it does hold its own. It's got some chunky armor. That can make a bit of a difference to things, right? And that, 14 center torso armor, that's really good. For a light mech, it can take a bit of a beating. And so yeah, I like the Panther quite a lot. I also, again, the aesthetic of it, it's a pretty mech, in my opinion. I like it. It's a bit blocky, but I like it. So again, it's designed for support. Again, it's designed for recon, but the main goal, I guess, is you are that sniper. You want to get into position and pick things off. So where all the other mechs I've sort of shown you are going to be jumping around like crazy, the Panther is going to take its time. It's going to get into some trees or something, and it's going to just slowly pick off the bigger mechs. And because it has the PPC, it's like, that's a big deal. I like the fluff that, it didn't do very well, so they just said, let's strap a massive gun to it. Oh, excuse me. So, yeah. It used to have a laser, and then they're like, let's just amp it up. Turn it up to 11. There are lots of different variants. It is a 9R. The other one says 6R. That's what I thought. So, yeah, they're my main choices for light mechs, and the reasons why I would pick them. So, mobility, you'll notice they're all lasers. I don't want to explode. So, that's pretty much it. I'm going to go back to the Spider, because Spider. That's what I think for 30-25 light mechs. If you disagree with me, that's cool. If there's other things. The one thing I would say is just remember, when I play the tabletop game, when I play role-playing games, my emphasis is not on just straight out go in and punch them in the face. Like, I like things with objectives. I like things with strategy. I like games where it's not just, I'll punch you, you punch me, and then whoever has the more points in mechs wins. Like, I don't like games like that. What I really like is games like, okay, defend this VIP, or go and infiltrate these buildings, or get in and steal some data and get back out, and those sorts of things. And that's exactly what, if you look at the novels and stuff, like, it's very rare that it's just, okay, let's have an all-out brawl, and if you read the fluff, that's not what happens. It's not about just all-out brawls. It's often about, especially because, technology is so limited, it's about raiding and getting in and getting out, and, being a bit clever about how you use things, like the way I was talking about the fire starters, right? These sorts of things makes a big difference. And so yeah, I would highly recommend that you start looking at especially lighter mechs through that lens. And if you are playing the tabletop game, maybe instead of just okay, let's charge at each other until one of us is dead, let's start thinking about what objectives can we put in. What could we be doing? Anyway, that's been me. Thank you for listening, and let me know what you think down below. Bye.